Karen laughed when my son fell from his wheelchair. Then the crowd turned Willow Creek was a slice of suburban paradise, or so the real estate brochures claimed. Perfectly trimmed hedges, gleaming SUVs, and houses that looked like they'd been plucked from an architect's dream lined every street. I moved here 4 years ago for Noah, my 13-year-old son, whose muscular dystrophy meant a wheelchair, but never dimmed his fire. I wanted a stable, safe place where he could chase his dreams. Music, friends, a life beyond his diagnosis. But Karen Whitaker, the HOA president, saw us as a crack in her flawless facade, and she made it her mission to erase us. Karen came to my door in June, 2 weeks after we'd installed Noah's wheelchair ramp. It was a solid oak structure designed to match our craftsman-style home, but to Karen it was a personal insult. She stood on my porch, her silk blouse immaculate, her auburn hair swept into a tight bun, a clipboard clutched like a shield. "Mr. Evans," she said, her voice sharp with authority, "I'm Karen Whitaker, HOA president. This ramp is unapproved and violates our aesthetic guidelines. You'll need to remove it or face penalties." I leaned against the doorframe, my hands still dusty from adjusting Noah's adaptive guitar stand in the garage. "It's for my son," I said, keeping my tone even. "He needs it to get in and out. I submitted the medical exemption forms to the HOA. Her eyes flicked to the ramp, then to Noah's wheelchair parked inside, her nose wrinkling slightly. "Exemptions require board approval, which you don't have," she said, "and frankly, it's unsightly. Willow Creek has standards. Surely you can store the wheelchair elsewhere? We all make sacrifices for the community." "Sacrifices," I said, my patience thinning. "You're asking me to make my son's life harder to keep your lawn contest intact?" Karen's smile was cold, practiced. "Don't take it personally, Mr. Evans. Rules are rules. I'll expect a compliance plan by next week." She turned, her heels clicking down the path, leaving me to swallow my frustration. I glanced at Noah, who was strumming his guitar in the living room, headphones on, oblivious to the exchange. Thank God, I wasn't just Michael Evans, single dad. I was a physical therapist who'd spent 15 years helping kids with disabilities build strength, confidence, lives. I'd faced insurance companies and skeptical school boards. I thought one HOA busybody would be manageable. I was wrong. Karen's hostility crept in like a slow poison. By August, I felt it everywhere. Neighbors who'd once waved now avoided eye contact when I pushed Noah to the community center for guitar lessons. At the HOA's summer barbecue, a couple muttered about property values as we passed, their eyes on Noah's wheelchair. The HOA newsletter, Karen's mouthpiece, ran a piece on maintaining curb appeal with a pointed mention of unapproved modifications. No names, but the message was clear. Our house, with its ramp and Noah's adaptive bike in the driveway, was the target. Then the fines started. Letters arrived weekly, printed on crisp HOA letterhead. Violation, unapproved ramp, $75. Violation, visible medical equipment, $50. I ignored them, citing ADA protections in a formal complaint to the board, but the response was a vague, under review. Karen's influence was a steel cage, her allies on the board too loyal or scared to defy her. Noah noticed the tension, his questions cutting deeper than I could bear. "Why's that lady always writing stuff when she sees us?" he asked one evening, his fingers pausing on his guitar strings. "Does she think I'm weird?" "She's just stuck on rules," I said, ruffling his hair. "You're awesome, kid. Focus on your music." He grinned, but his eyes held a flicker of doubt. Noah had faced enough. Surgeries, therapy, the loss of his mom when he was 6. I'd promised him Willow Creek would be a fresh start, a place to shine. Karen was stealing that, and I hated her for it. By September, Karen's campaign turned vicious. The HOA's private Facebook group, which I joined to monitor, was a cesspool of veiled attacks. "Anyone else worried about 1812 Oak Drive? That ramp looks like a lawsuit waiting to happen. All that equipment out front doesn't exactly scream Willow Creek. Single dad, probably in over his head. Poor kid." Karen never posted, but her fingerprints were everywhere. Her silence a green light for the gossip. I reported the group, but the admins, Karen's cronies, brushed me off. I confronted her at the community mailbox one morning, after dropping Noah at school. She was sorting HOA flyers, her posture rigid, her eyes cold. You're targeting my son, I said, my voice low but firm. The fines, the whispers, the stares. It's got to stop. Karen didn't blink. Mr. Evans, I'm enforcing community standards. If you feel singled out, perhaps it's because you're not complying. That ramp, for instance, is for Noah, I snapped, my control slipping. He's a kid, not a problem. You're making him feel like he doesn't belong here. Her lips curled slightly. Willow Creek isn't a charity ward. We have an image to maintain. I suggest you focus on fitting in, not fighting me. She walked away, leaving me gripping the mailbox, my knuckles white. I wanted to tell her who I was, a therapist who'd helped kids walk again, who'd rebuilt lives after trauma. But I didn't. Karen didn't care about truth. She cared about power. And I was too focused on Noah's upcoming performance at the community talent show to waste energy on her. That was my mistake. The talent show was Noah's idea, a chance to share his music with Willow Creek. He'd been practicing for weeks, adapting chords for his guitar despite his weakening hands, his determination a fire nothing could douse. The show was held in October, a crisp Saturday evening at the community center, packed with neighbors, kids, and local vendors. Noah was nervous but excited, his wheelchair polished, his favorite blue hoodie bright under the stage lights. I helped him onto the stage, adjusting his guitar stand, whispering, "You've got this, buddy." He nodded, his smile shaky but real, and started playing. A soft, original song about flying free, his voice raw but powerful. The crowd was quiet, captivated, and I stood in the wings, my heart swelling with pride. Then it happened. Halfway through, Noah shifted to reach a chord, and his wheelchair tipped. He fell hard, hitting the stage floor, his guitar clattering beside him. The crowd gasped, and I ran to him, my pulse racing. "Noah, you okay?" I asked, kneeling, checking for injuries. He nodded, wincing but tough. "I'm fine, Dad. Help me up." Before I could, a laugh cut through the silence. Sharp, cruel, unmistakable. Karen Whitaker stood in the front row, her arms crossed, her face twisted with amusement. "Well, that's what happens when you let kids like him perform," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Should have stayed in his lane." The room froze. Noah's face fell, his hands trembling on the floor. I turned, my blood boiling, but the crowd reacted first. A woman gasped, "How dare you?" A man shouted, "That's a kid." Phones were out, recording, and I realized the community center's live stream was capturing it all, Karen's laugh echoing through speakers. "Get him up," I said to Sarah, our caregiver, who'd rushed over. I faced Karen, my voice shaking with rage. "You think this is funny? My son's hurt, and you're laughing?" Karen's smile faltered, but she doubled down, oblivious to the cameras. "I'm just saying, maybe he's not cut out for this. It's a safety issue, Michael." The crowd erupted, boos and shouts drowning her out. A mother in the back yelled, "You're the issue!" Kids Noah's age glared, some crying, their parents pulling them close. The live stream cut off, but the damage was done. Karen's cruelty was on record, her mask shattered. I lifted Noah back into his chair, his eyes wet but defiant. "I want to finish," he whispered. I nodded, helping him settle, and he played on, his song stronger, the crowd cheering through tears. But inside, I was breaking, furious at Karen, terrified for Noah, ashamed I hadn't protected him. The video hit the internet like a bomb. By morning, HOA President Laughs at Disabled Boys Fall was everywhere. X, news sites, even late-night talk shows. The clip showed Karen's smirk, Noah's courage, and the crowd's fury, with Hasher's Justice for Noah trending globally. Public outrage was relentless. Petitions demanded her resignation, protests formed outside Willow Creek's gates, and Karen the Cruel became a meme. Her laugh looped in viral edits. I kept Noah offline, telling him people loved his music. Not the full truth, but he knew. "She laughed because of my chair, didn't she?" he asked, his voice quiet. I hugged him, promising we'd get through it. But the anger in my gut was a living thing. Karen hadn't just mocked Noah. She'd tried to break him. The video of Karen Whitaker laughing at Noah's fall exploded across the internet like a thunderclap. By midnight, it was everywhere. X, YouTube, every major news outlet. HOA President mocks disabled teens fall at talent show, screamed the headlines, paired with Karen's cold smirk and Noah's determined face as he finished his song. The clip racked up tens of millions of views, with "Adra Your Justice for Noah" trending worldwide. Comments poured in, some calling Karen a heartless bully, others demanding her arrest. A petition to dissolve the Willow Creek HOA hit 50,000 signatures by dawn, and Karen the Cruel became a digital scarlet letter, her laugh remixed into memes that spread like wildfire. I kept Noah away from the chaos, telling him the video was about his music, not Karen's cruelty. He was shaken, his confidence bruised from the fall and her laughter. "Why'd she laugh, Dad?" he asked the next morning, his guitar untouched on its stand. "Was it because I messed up?" "No, buddy," I said, sitting beside his wheelchair, my voice steady despite the rage in my chest. "She laughed because she's got her own problems. You were incredible up there. People are cheering for you." He nodded, his eyes distant, and picked up his guitar, strumming softly. But I knew the hurt was deep. Noah had fought hard to perform, adapting every chord to his weakening hands. Karen hadn't just mocked his fall, she'd mocked his courage, and that was unforgivable. As a physical therapist, I'd helped kids like Noah reclaim their strength, their joy, but protecting him from this felt impossible, and the guilt gnawed at me. For moving to Willow Creek, for trusting the community, for not seeing Karen's venom sooner. Outside, Willow Creek was a battlefield. News vans clogged the streets, reporters knocking on doors, their cameras trained on Karen's house where the lights stayed off. The HOA's Facebook group imploded, neighbors posting apologies or airing grievances. "She fined me $200 for my kid's skateboard. She called my rose bushes tacky." The admins, Karen's loyalists, tried to delete the posts, but screenshots fueled the outrage on X, each one a brick in the wall of her downfall. Karen's collapse was brutal and swift. The HOA board held an emergency meeting the next evening, live-streamed to a furious audience. The community center was packed, the air thick with betrayal. "She laughed at a kid's pain," a grandmother shouted, her voice trembling. "Noah's song was beautiful, and she humiliated him," another neighbor said, wiping tears. The board, desperate to save face, voted unanimously to remove Karen as president and issued a public apology. "We stand with Noah Evans and his family." Karen didn't attend. She'd been asked to stay away, but her absence was deafening. Her reign ended in disgrace. The public dug into her past, and it wasn't pretty. Local news revealed a trail of petty tyranny. Karen had fined neighbors for unapproved birdhouses, threatened to tow cars over minor parking errors, and bullied a single mom into removing her son's therapy swing. Worse, she'd misused HOA funds, $5,000 for a consulting fee that traced to her vacation in Aspen, $2,000 for a new deck. When the paper published her financials, the outrage was seismic. Lawsuits followed. Neighbors sued for fraud. I filed for emotional distress and public humiliation. Karen's husband, a soft-spoken engineer who'd stayed in her shadow, filed for divorce, taking their 16-year-old daughter with him. Her house, once Willow Creek's crown jewel, sprouted a for sale sign, the lawn already wilting. I saw her once during that frenzy, at the pharmacy picking up Noah's meds. She was in the aisle clutching a bottle of painkillers, her face gaunt, her hair unwashed. No makeup, no crisp blazer, just a faded sweatshirt and jeans. Our eyes met, and I braced for her usual sneer, but she looked away, her shoulders slumping. For a moment I saw not the HOA dictator, but a woman broken, her world in ruins. It wasn't justice, it was just heavy. Noah's performance, despite Karen's cruelty, became a rallying cry. The talent show video ended with him finishing his song, his voice rising above the boos aimed at Karen, and that resilience captured hearts. Donations flooded in for his music therapy program, enough to fund lessons for dozens of kids with disabilities. The news ran a follow-up, highlighting Noah's talent and my work as a therapist who'd helped hundreds of children rebuild their lives. "Michael Evans isn't just a father," the anchor said. "He's a lifeline for kids who need hope." They showed Noah practicing guitar, his smile fierce, and I felt a spark of pride. Karen hadn't silenced him. She'd amplified his light, but the victory was bittersweet. Noah was quieter, his confidence fragile. He stopped wanting to perform, saying, "What if I fall again?" I coaxed him with small jam sessions at home, but his eyes held a new wariness. "Did she laugh because I'm in a chair?" he asked one night, his voice cracking. I hugged him, my anger at Karen flaring, but I kept my tone calm. "She laughed because she's lost, Noah. You're stronger than she'll ever be." I'd spent my career teaching kids to rise above their limits, but shielding Noah from this pain was a fight I was losing. The public's wrath was a force of its own. Karen's name became a byword for cruelty. Karen Whitaker trended with memes of her laugh, captioned, "When you hate kids but love control." Ex-users unearthed her old posts, smug rants about Willow Creek's elegance, now mocked mercilessly. Someone spray-painted bully on her garage, and her mailbox was smashed. The coffee shop where she'd held HOA meetings banned her, posting, "We support Noah Evans." Her yoga studio, once her social hub, issued a statement on embracing inclusivity, a quiet disavowal. I didn't join the pile-on. My fight was for Noah, not against Karen. I spent evenings helping him with his music, laughing with Sarah over his goofy lyrics. But Karen's laugh echoed, raising questions I couldn't dodge. Could someone so callous change? Did she deserve the chance? I'd seen kids overcome impossible odds, but adults were harder. Their hearts often locked shut. 2 months later, the county held a public forum to address the incident, billed as a community restoration event. The community center was packed, the air heavy with unresolved anger. I went, not for me, but for Noah, who'd said, "Tell them I'm not a joke, Dad." He stayed home with Sarah, too young for the room's raw emotion, but his words drove me. The mayor spoke first, praising Noah's talent and my work, noting how my therapy programs had changed lives across Willow Creek. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others shifting, their silence a confession of complicity in Karen's reign. I didn't want their applause. I wanted a neighborhood where Noah felt safe. When the floor opened, neighbors unloaded. A teacher shared how Karen had fined her for a messy classroom sign welcoming disabled students. A father said she'd reported his daughter's therapy dog as aggressive. The stories painted a woman who'd ruled through exclusion, punishing anyone who didn't fit her vision of perfection. Karen was there, in the back, alone, her hands clasped tightly. She stood, uninvited, her voice trembling. "I was wrong," she said, barely audible. "I thought I was protecting Willow Creek, keeping it pristine. But I hurt Noah, I hurt Michael, I hurt you all. I laughed because I was blind, blind to his courage, his strength. I'm sorry." Her words hung there, fragile and raw. No one clapped, no one softened. A few muttered, their anger still sharp. I watched, searching for the woman who'd laughed at my son's pain. She was gone, replaced by someone small, exposed, her pride in tatters. I stood, my heart heavy but steady. "Noah's not a punchline," I said, my voice carrying. "He's a kid with dreams, with talent. What happened here isn't just one person's fault. It's what we let grow. We can't undo the hurt, but we can make Willow Creek a place where kids like Noah shine. That's what matters." The crowd nodded, some tearful. Karen sat, her head bowed, and I felt a shift. Not closure, but a crack in the wall. Something was breaking open, even if I wasn't ready to name it. Karen's reckoning didn't end with words. The lawsuits drained her finances, forcing her to sell her house at a loss. She moved to a small apartment on the edge of town, working nights at a warehouse to survive. Her daughter stopped speaking to her, and her friends vanished, leaving her to face the wreckage alone. I heard she'd started therapy, joined a group for community leaders who'd abused power. I didn't know if it was true, and I didn't dwell on it. My focus was Noah, who was playing again, his music a quiet rebellion against Karen's cruelty. One evening in December, a letter arrived, handwritten on plain paper. It was from Karen. "Michael, I don't expect you to read this, but I have to try. What I did to Noah was unforgivable. I laughed because I was arrogant, because I saw his wheelchair as a flaw, not a part of his strength. I was wrong, and I'm horrified by who I was. I'm trying to change, not for forgiveness, but because Noah deserves better. I've started volunteering at a rehab center, learning to see people, not problems. It's small, but it's real. I hope Noah's okay. I think of his song every day. Thank you for not letting my cruelty define him. You're a better father than I'll ever be. Karen, I read it twice, the words heavy with shame and effort. It didn't heal the wound, but it was a start, a sign that even the worst could try. I kept the letter, not for Karen, but for Noah, a reminder that pain didn't have to win. Karen's letter sat on my kitchen counter for days, its words a quiet bruise I wasn't ready to touch. It couldn't undo the sound of her laugh, Noah's trembling hands, or the weight of a community's betrayal. But it was honest, raw, a glimpse of a woman wrestling with her worst self. I didn't know if I believed her promise to change, but I'd spent my life as a physical therapist helping kids like Noah rebuild after pain. Maybe Karen was rebuilding too, in her own broken way. The question was whether it mattered. Willow Creek changed with the seasons. By spring, the HOA was a shadow of its former self, focused on inclusion under Paul's steady leadership. New accessibility ramps lined the sidewalks, and Noah's music therapy program, funded by donations, had grown, offering lessons to kids across the county. Neighbors reached out, small gestures, but real. Mrs. Carter, who'd once avoided us, dropped off a batch of brownies. The Nguyen family invited Noah to their son's band practice. Noah's songs filled our house again, his guitar a lifeline, his smile a light that refused to dim. Willow Creek wasn't flawless, but it was trying, and that was enough for now. Noah was stronger, his confidence creeping back. He'd started writing new songs, sharing them online with Sarah's help, his voice bolder with each post. "I want to show people I'm not scared," he told me, his eyes fierce. I hung one of his lyric sheets on the fridge, a ballad about rising after a fall, and it became my anchor, a reminder of his resilience. But the memory of Karen's laugh lingered, a scar on his trust. He didn't talk about it, but I saw it in the way he hesitated before leaving the house, the way he scanned crowds for judgment. Karen's name faded from Willow Creek's chatter, replaced by talk of school plays and summer plans. But I heard whispers of her life. She'd kept her warehouse job, working grueling shifts to pay off lawsuits. Her apartment was a far cry from her old mansion, her designer life sold off to cover debts. Her daughter hadn't spoken to her since the divorce, and her former allies had vanished, leaving her to face her ruin alone. Yet she hadn't run. She'd stayed, volunteering at a rehabilitation center, helping families navigate therapy programs, attending seminars on disability awareness. I didn't know if it was genuine or a bid to ease her conscience, but I heard she was quiet about it. No press, no glory. Then came the anniversary of the talent show, a crisp October evening that marked a year since Karen's laugh had shattered our world. The community center hosted a benefit concert for Noah's music program, a celebration of kids with disabilities sharing their talents. Noah wanted to perform, his nerves tempered by resolve. "I'm not letting her win," he said, tuning his guitar. I couldn't say no, even if it meant facing the past head-on. The concert was alive with energy. Kids singing, dancing, playing instruments, their families cheering from folding chairs. Noah took the stage, his wheelchair steady, his blue hoodie bright under the lights. He played a new song, "Keep Climbing," about falling and getting up, his voice raw but powerful. The crowd swayed, some crying, and I stood in the wings, my heart full, my eyes stinging with pride. Afterward, I saw Karen. She was at a booth for the rehab center, handing out resource guides, her hair tied back, her face free of makeup. She looked ordinary, not the HOA tyrant, not the villain of Willow Creek, just a woman working silently, unnoticed by most. When she saw Noah, she froze, her hands clutching a flyer. Then slowly she approached, stopping a safe distance away. "Noah," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "your song was beautiful. You're so talented." Noah looked at me uncertain, then at Karen. "Thanks," he said, his tone polite but cautious. "I worked hard on it." Karen's eyes glistened. "You did. It's amazing." She turned to me, hesitant. "Michael, can we talk? Just for a moment?" I nodded, asking Sarah to stay with Noah, who was already chatting with a friend from the program. Karen and I stepped outside, the cool air sharp, the concert's hum fading behind us. She took a shaky breath. "I've been trying to find the courage to say this. she said. What I did to Noah laughing when he fell, it was the ugliest thing I've ever done. I was so consumed by my need to control, to make Willow Creek my perfect little empire, that I didn't see him. I saw his wheelchair, his fall, as weaknesses, not as parts of a brave, incredible boy. I hurt him, I hurt you, and I'll carry that guilt forever. Her voice broke, tears spilling, but she kept going. I'm not that person anymore. The rehab center, it's teaching me to listen, to value people over appearances. Noah's strength opened my eyes. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm trying every day to be someone who'd never laugh at him again. I studied her, searching for the woman who'd stood in the front row, her laugh a blade. She was gone, replaced by someone raw, humbled, still wrestling with her shame. Why do this, I asked. You could have left, started fresh somewhere else. She wiped her eyes, her voice steadying. Because running would have been easy. Staying, facing what I did, that's harder. Noah deserves a world where people like me don't hurt him. I want to help build that, even if it's just a small piece. I didn't respond right away. The pain of that night was still there. Noah's trembling hands, a memory I couldn't shake. Noah's tougher than you know, I said finally. But what you did, it changed him. He's fighting to trust again. Don't think volunteering wipes that away. Karen nodded, her tears falling freely. I know. I'll spend my life making amends, not for absolution, but because it's right. I didn't say more. There was nothing else to say. She went back to her booth, and I returned to Noah, who was laughing with his friends, his guitar propped beside him. But Karen's words stayed, a quiet challenge to my anger, my doubt, my belief in redemption. A month later, I got a call from the rehab center's director. They were starting a music therapy scholarship for kids with disabilities, and Karen had suggested Noah's name for the inaugural award. She said his performance inspired it, the director told me. She's been fundraising, using her own wages to seed the program. I was stunned. Karen hadn't just pitched the idea. She'd shared Noah's story, with my permission, to raise awareness, organizing a small concert series to fund it. The director sent me a photo of the scholarship flyer, featuring a guitar and Noah's lyric, "Keep climbing, don't look down." I showed Noah the flyer that night. "What do you think, buddy? Should we go to the scholarship event?" He studied the guitar, then nodded. "If it helps kids play music, yeah. Is that the lady who laughed?" "Yeah," I said. "She's trying to make things better." He thought for a moment, then shrugged. "That's cool, as long as she's not mean anymore." The scholarship event was small but warm, held at the rehab center, with kids and families gathered around a makeshift stage. Noah spoke briefly, thanking the center, his voice shy but clear. "Music helps me feel free," he said. "I hope it helps other kids too." The crowd clapped, and I swallowed hard, pride and relief mixing in my chest. Karen was there, not as a speaker but a volunteer, setting up chairs, pouring lemonade. She didn't draw attention to herself, but I saw her watching Noah, her eyes soft when a girl in a walker played a keyboard piece. After the event, she approached, holding a small gift bag. "For Noah," she said, her voice low. "If it's okay." I opened it, a guitar pick engraved with "Keep Climbing." A note was tucked inside. "For Noah, who taught me what strength really is. Karen." I looked at her, the weight of the past year pressing against the moment. "Why this?" I asked. "Why keep going?" She smiled, small and sad. "Because Noah's worth it. Because I wasn't, but I want to be. Thank you, Michael, for letting me try." I didn't forgive her, not fully. Some hurts run too deep. But I took the pick, and when I gave it to Noah, he grinned. "This is awesome," he said, slipping it into his case. "Tell her I'll use it." That summer, Willow Creek held a community music festival, the first since the HOA's overhaul. There were open mics, food trucks, and a stage where Noah played, his song soaring over the crowd. I helped with setup, trading laughs with Sarah and Paul, the neighborhood feeling lighter, like it had exhaled a long-held breath. Karen was there, at a booth for the rehab center, handing out flyers for the scholarship. She'd expanded it, using her wages to fund instruments for local schools. It wasn't loud, no news crews, no fanfare, but it was real. I saw her with a boy in a wheelchair, showing him how to hold a drumstick, her smile unguarded. Later, as the sun set, I found myself near her booth. Noah was with Sarah, jamming with his friends, his new pick glinting in the light. "The scholarship's doing good," I said, nodding at her flyers. "Noah's proud to be part of it." Karen's eyes lit up, grateful. "It's because of him," she said. He's a gift. Thank you, Michael, for letting me do this, for not shutting me out." I shrugged, not because I didn't care, but because some things didn't need words. "Keep it going," I said. "It matters." She nodded, tears in her eyes, and I walked back to Noah, to our life, our music. Noah's still playing, his songs a soundtrack to our days, his courage a light I'll never stop chasing. Willow Creek isn't perfect, but it's ours. Ramps, music, neighbors who see Noah for who he is. Karen's not a friend, not a savior, but she's not the enemy anymore. She's someone learning, one note at a time. I'm still Michael Evans, therapist, dad, keeper of Noah's fire. I don't have all the answers, but I have his songs, Sarah's steadiness, and a community that's growing. Honor isn't in winning. It's in lifting each other up and trying again, in loving fiercely. Noah's guitar pick sits on his stand, a reminder that even the darkest moments can spark something new. And his music, it's louder than any laugh. The end.